Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Mulatira Vanachami Mulatira Vanachami Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 1, Text 14. Chapter is called The Advent of Lord Krishna. Advent of Lord Krishna Introduction. So we chant the Sanskrit. Sutta Uvacha Evam Nisham Pradunandana Sadhuvadam Vayasakti Sa Bhagavan Artha Vishnuvatam Pratarya Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashanam Vyahartim Arabhata Bhagavata Pradhanaha Sutta Uvacha evam nishamya brijunandana sadhuvaram Vaya Sakti Sa Bhagavan Atta Vishnuvatam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashagnam Yahartim Arhabata Bhagavata Pradhanaha Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Prijunandana Sadhuvaram Vaya Sakti Sa Bhagavan Atta Vishnuvatam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashagnam Yahartim Arhabata Bhagavata Pradhanaha Evam Nishamya Prijunandana Sadhuvaram Vaisayati Sa Bhagavan Atta Vishnuvatam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashagnam Charitam Bhagavata Bhagavata Pranananaha Siddha Vacha Evam Nishamya Prijunandana Sadhuvaram Vaya Sakti Sa Bhagavan Atta Vishnuvatam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashagnam Yahartim Arhabata Bhagavata Pradhanaha Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Prijunandana Sadhuvaram Vaya Sakti Sa Bhagavan Atta Vishnuvatam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashagnam Yahartim Arhabata Bhagavata Pradhanaha Evam Nishamya Prijunandana Sadhuvaram Vaya Sakti Sa Bhagavan Atta Vishnu. Arsha Krishna Charitam Kalikam Vashagnam Yahartim Arha Patra Bhagavata Pranadhanahan. Synonyms. Sutta Uvacha. Sutta Goswami said, Evam, thus, Nishamya, hearing, Bhrigu Nandana, O son of the Bhrigu dynasty, Shonika. Sadhu Vadam, pious questions. Vyasati, Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva. Saha, he, Bhagavan, the most powerful. Atta, thus, Vishnu Ratam, unto Parikshit Maharaj, who was always protected by Vishnu. Pratyarcha, offering him respectful obeisances. Krishna Charitam, topics of Lord Krishna. Kali Kama Shagnam, which diminish the troubles of the age of Kali. Yahartum, to describe. Arhabata, began. Bhagavata Pradhana, Shukadeva Goswami, the chief among the pure devotees. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, after Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, after Shukadeva Goswami, the most respectable devotee, the son of Vyasadeva, heard the pious questions of Maharaj Parikshit, he thanked the king with great respect. Then he began to discourse on topics concerning Krishna, which are the remedy for all sufferings in the Kali Yuga. Repeat after me. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, after Shukadeva Goswami, the most respectable devotee, the son of Vyasadeva, heard the pious questions of Maharaj Parikshit. He thanked the king with great respect. Then he began to discourse on topics concerning Krishna, which are the remedy for all sufferings in this age of Kali. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, the words Krishna Charitam Kali Kamashanam indicate that the activities of Lord Krishna are certainly the greatest panacea for all miseries, especially in the age of Kali. It is said that in Kali Yuga, people have only short lives, and they have no culture of spiritual consciousness. If anyone is at all interested in spiritual culture, he is misled by many bogus swamis and yogis who do not refer to Krishna Katha. Therefore, most people are unfortunate, disturbed by many calamities. So Vyasadeva prepared Srimad-bhagavatam at the request of Narada Muni in order to give relief to the suffering people of his age. Kali Kalnasha. Now, the Krishna consciousness movement is seriously engaged in enlightening people through the pleasing topics of Srimad-bhagavatam. All over the world, the message of Srimad-bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is being accepted in all spheres of life, especially in advanced educated circles. Srila Sukadeva Goswami described in this verse Sukadeva Swami is described in this verse as Bhagavat Pradhana, whereas Maharaj Parikshit is described as Vishnu Ratam. Both words bear the same meaning. That is, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of Krishna, and Sukadeva Goswami was also a great saintly person and a great devotee of Krishna. Combined together to present Krishna Katha, they give great relief to suffering humanity. Anarto pasyanam sakshad bhakti yogam anopsajay lokashad janato vidvans sakre satvatra samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated, stopped, by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, Srimad-bhagavatam, which is in relation to the supreme truth. It's a verse from the Srimad-bhagavatam earlier. Canto 1, chapter 7, verse 6. People in general are unaware of the message of Srimad-bhagavatam. People in general are unaware that the message of Srimad-bhagavatam can give all human society relief from the pangs of Kali Yuga. Kali, Kal, Masha, Kinanam. Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, a number of points here. One point is that it's stated that Sukadeva Goswami, after hearing the questions of Maharaj Parikshit, he thanked him. With great feeling, he thanked him. Thank you for asking these good questions. This is actually very important, because the Srimad-bhagavatam is perfect. Actually, Srimad-bhagavatam is actually Krishna. It's actually an incarnation of Krishna. The Srimad-bhagavatam itself says that. It's in Canto 1, chapter 3, verse 40, I believe. Idam Bhagavatam Namapuranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam. I don't remember the rest of the verse, but it's saying that the Srimad-bhagavatam is actually an incarnation of the Lord. This chapter 3 is a chapter on some of the incarnations, some of the major incarnations were mentioned, and at the end of several incarnations that were mentioned, then there was one more incarnation, which is mentioned, which is actually the Srimad-bhagavatam itself. So the Srimad-bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. And the Srimad-bhagavatam, if we study it, we see that it is made up of questions and answers. There are many. There actually are many different conversations going on throughout the Srimad-bhagavatam. The sages at Naimisharanya, they were having their conversations and their questions to Srila Sutta Goswami, who is in this verse Sutta Goswami is speaking. And then later on in the Srimad-bhagavatam, there's also questions and answers between Vidura and Maitreya and Rishi, and many questions and answers throughout the Srimad-bhagavatam. But these questions the questions that are asked are always perfect. They're very relevant. Srila Prabhupada says everyone's asking questions. We ask questions. Human beings ask so many questions about everything in life. He says even the birds and the animals, they're asking questions. The birds wake up in the morning, tweet, 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 tweet. They're talking. Where is food? Where is food? Questions. Or where is something else? For material benefit, material enjoyment. So there's so many. Everyone's asking questions, but the perfect question, or perfect kind of question, are those questions that are asked regarding about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those kind of questions are perfect. Someone can ask, inquire submissively to a proper speaker, and he inquires perfectly about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then that's the perfection. We can inquire, and we hear. Perfection is not just inquiring, but it's inquiring, asking good questions, and then hearing from the Lord's representative, giving the perfect answers. So here, Sutta Goswami is describing, the purport is explaining how Maharaj Parikshit asked questions, because he's on in his last week of his life, and he's asking very serious questions, nothing whimsical, very serious questions to Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami is answering, but he's not just. It's not just like just like someone may be. Even in a material sense, if someone's teaching teaching a class at school, and most of the time, most everyone's not probably all that interested in the subject. But if say some students come up with some really good questions, relevant questions on that particular topic, and they ask the teacher naturally, even if it was a material topic, the teacher feels very enlivened. Wow, you're actually wanting to hear about this now, and now you can actually speak something and explain. So, it makes the learning process becomes very good. There are good questions, right attitude, and proper answers from the qualified person. Then there's so much benefit, even materially. So, of course, in spiritual life is the same principle. We ask questions. If we don't directly ask the questions, at least we should have the desire to learn. But here we're talking about actually asking questions. So Maharaj Parikshit was already a pure devotee of Krishna. So of course he already knew these topics himself, really. So he was asking very relevant questions. He's asking very relevant questions. And Sukadeva Goswami was feeling very enlivened by those questions. That you're asking these wonderful questions about Krishna, and I love to talk about Krishna. He's saying, so you're asking wonderful questions, and now I will give, saying, thank you very much, dear Raj Parikshit, because you're asking these wonderful questions, and now I'm very happy to give you the answers to those questions. Bhagavad Gita also says, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Teshan Satata Yuktanam Priti Purvikam Udami Gori Yogam Yai So he's saying that the devotees, Krishna saying that my devotees, they come together and they are very happy to have engage in discussions, talking and questions and answers, and talking about my glories, because Krishna is God. So of course it's about his glories, but Lord Krishna appreciates that. I mean, we can relate to that. If there's something glorious about us, and there's somebody that's in a very nice way showing that appreciation, then it's just nice. So of course, Lord Krishna, he's the most glorious, and he's very happy to hear these topics, and the devotees are very happy to discuss them. It's not just, the most wonderful thing is when there's an assembly of devotees, and there are relevant, not whimsical but relevant topics on something about Lord Krishna, service to Lord Krishna, or the pastimes of Lord Krishna, something relevant, there's relevant questions, and of course, if it's and the questions are being addressed to can actually understand and give the proper answer, then it's very enlivening for everyone. So that's what Lord Krishna says. My devotees, they feel great transcendental bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me, as that's the Bhagavad Gita verse. So that's what's happening here. Shukadeva goes, Maharaj Parikshit's asking these wonderful questions, perfect questions. And Shukadeva Goswami, he's answering, or is about to answer these questions, but he's not just going to answer. He's thanking Maharaj Parikshit for listening, or for inquiring rather. And Srila Prabhupada himself, sometimes Srila Prabhupada would give many times Srila Prabhupada would give a lecture, Bhagavad Gita lecture, Srimad-bhagavatam lecture, and people would come and they would listen, devotees would come, and maybe others came, and he would speak, and at the end of the lecture, he would always say, "Thank you very much." So Srila Prabhupada was one who was speaking, so they should be thanking Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada was saying, "Thank you very much." Why am I thanking you very much? Because you've shown some desire to hear about Krishna. You want to hear about Krishna, and I love talking about Krishna. Srila Prabhupada loved to talk about Krishna all day and night, 24 hours a day. Srila Prabhupada liked that. He loved that. So that's there. So of course the same principles there. We have our Srimad-bhagavatam class. Usually it's really tired. But the class becomes especially enlivening when there's great eagerness to hear the topic, to ask relevant questions, to hear the answers, and of course, hopefully, the speaker will also be giving proper answers according to the Vedic conclusion. This is what makes the classes very nice. I mean, I remember when I was in school, up to high school and like that. Usually, it's very hard listening to the teacher teach something, unless you happen to be really, really interested in the topic. And it was difficult because the students were very, and all the way through high school at least, it was very hard. Even if someone wanted to listen, there was so much nonsense talking and stuff going on all the time. The teacher was having to saying, so quiet. So quiet. If you don't be quiet, I'm going to take you down to the office and see the principal. These things are going on. So it was very difficult. But in spiritual life, we also have our hearing and our chanting and learning. And the etiquette is, if someone is speaking, others are hearing, but it's not just others are hearing and then saying, okay, finally class is over, go do something else. The real enlivening thing about the classes that Shilpa set up, the really enlivening things is when we have questions. We have relevant questions can be asked, and there's some discussion. And I know from sitting in the class, sitting in the audience, and speaking, so much realizations come from that part of after the main speaking is done, and then the questions start. And when the questions start, if everyone's interested, then that's when the class really becomes interesting, I think. Anyway, this was the first part of what was mentioned here. And of course, Srila Prabhupada went into a few paragraphs, a few sentences here, mentioning the unfortunate condition of the age of Kali. This is from a verse. He didn't quote exactly the verse. I don't remember the exact Sanskrit of it now, but in the beginning of the Srimad-bhagavatam, we see there's a discussion between this is at the meeting at Naimisharanya, and so they had already installed is that the word? They had accepted Suta Goswami as to preside over the meeting. It was like the big acharya, and then there were some and the other sages there had an opportunity to ask questions, and their questions were not ordinary questions. Their questions were actually for what is beneficial for the whole human society. One of their questions was that in this age of Kali, because people are so much, in advance. I don't know the exact question, but I'll explain it, paraphrase. In the age of Kali, people are basically not qualified. In previous ages, you studied the Vedas from early on. As a child, you studied. You went to school. Mainly, the school was about you learned the Vedas. You learned the principles of Vedic knowledge. So, but in Kali Yuga, nobody can even start to read all the different Vedas, which include even the demigod worship and everything. Back then, they would study all that, and then hopefully at one point come to the final realization that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to Him. But in this age, it is simply not possible for the people in general to take that time and have the ability to study all the Vedas. So they asked Srila Suta Goswami that sense of Kali Yuga, in Kali Yuga, our lifespan is short compared to previous ages. Our minds go crazy. they're completely, our mind is completely bewildered and confused, and we're not very, we're not intelligent like that. And there are many Srila mentions here, there are many teachers. So even if you want spiritual life, there'll be many people who claim to be giving you spiritual life by this mantra and do this thing, by that, but they have nothing really to do with spiritual life. And people will be misled. Even if you want spiritual life, sometimes you're getting misled. But so Sutta Goswami, the sages, Shaunika Rishi is the main speaker there. So Shaunika Rishi, on behalf of all the other, I don't know how many sages were there, he asked these questions, and one of the questions was about that. The question was of all the Vedic scriptures, because there was a lot more than we even know about. Of all the Vedic scriptures, what is the essence? What can people read and learn from? Because it's not possible to read and study everything in this age of Kali. So, and then the answer was that of all the Vedic scriptures, the most important one is the Srimad-bhagavatam. Srimad-bhagavatam had actually been. Srimad-bhagavatam is actually eternal. Sometimes it's expanded more. Like Srila Prabhupada took the Srimad-bhagavatam verses and he wrote purports, so it's expanded. But the original Srimad-bhagavatam was very the actual Srimad-bhagavatam is eternal. In fact, when Lord Brahma was first sitting, he was born sitting on the lotus flower in the dark, because everything was completely dark, totally dark at that time. So he was sitting on the lotus flower, and understood. He heard the word tapa. So he was smart enough, because he was very intelligent. Even though he was alone in the universe, he was smart enough that he understood he performed austerities. So by that, some kind of austerity he was performing, he gradually understood that the he finally got knowledge. He actually finally, Krishna revealed knowledge to him. That knowledge what he actually heard was those first, not the first four, but there's what's called the chapter slokas. It's four verses within the Srimad-bhagavatam. 4 verses that are like the complete essence of the entire Srimad-bhagavatam. And those, in any case, he heard those, and then gradually, this knowledge was expanded more and more. And Srila Vyasadeva spoke to Srikadeva Goswami, and of course Srila Prabhupada took those words, and he expanded the purports, expanded more of the purports. So in any case, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, and by hearing and inquiring from about the Srimad Bhagavatam, then our lives can become very blissful and very, spiritually fruitful. That's the point here. If we never do it, but it would be very nice if we before the next, everyone has access to this knowledge. So before the class comes up for the next day, and the next verse, you can always look ahead and read the verse, read the purport, think about it, hear the class, and then maybe it would generate some discussion, questions and answers, and then of course that makes it more beneficial for everyone. It was just a suggestion. Anyway, at this point, are there any questions or comments? Huh? The essential verses? I have to see what the actual numbers, verse numbers are. At the moment, I have to look that up and find out though. Let me find the actual verses. I'll show you. Sorry, I'm not very good at remembering Sanskrit verses, but I can show you exactly which ones they are. There's 4 verses together. I'll show you what the class is. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll end here for today. Continue with the next verse tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.